is there things that you would have learned or would have liked to work in a particular way, or lessons that maybe you could have done differently, just for like people who may find themselves in a similar situation, like in terms of advice of how they can handle the situation?
Yeah, I think how you've put that, having been diagnosed here, there's as much as you're going through something with so much information, you're learning everything. There is so much information available to you, from how to handle your finances, or give you a certain perspective of things, but so many things that to help you. And then later on you get to learn of the charities and build relationships with people and things. But I think for me, being a Malawian, one thing that kept me positive throughout this process was, back home, I've never seen this type of info available.
Wow.
It's just not there. So whilst I was getting grips of grasping this whole situation, there was stuff available around me. Once I relaxed and a minute, I could say, okay, I can go here to get this. I can call a number, get some websites and platforms, or just talk to a nurse, a random breast nurse, because maybe the one I'm with, I haven't developed much of a relationship with yet. But you could pick up the phone, oh, these are my concerns, I feel like this, and they'll talk to you. So at the end of the day, the stuff is there. It's just, when you're ready, or once the dust has settled, you can know where to look and pick. And also meeting people, you make relationships with fellow patients, so you have that access to information and keep each other positive throughout your process. And I think for me, the major thing was which kept me grounded, was okay, fine, I can't work at the moment, and it's messed up our money issue for a bit, but imagine if this was at home, would you have even had access to this? Here they've done the hospital part. They have their protocols in place, but they also know that there's the social part, and they feel they still need to work on it. Because cancer is not a take a pill, go home. It's a whole process of treatment. It's not a one-stop shop. And going through it, I realized that it's a lot, to get through the treatment. It affects you not just physically, mentally, it's everything. And they try, but home, even the hospital part, the medical part, we don't have it. So we haven't grasped that yet. And cancer back home, even when people got to know, I think, especially it's this year when my sister died and I couldn't go home, I was doing my chemo. And people are like, oh, why didn't the sister come? Then obviously, the cat was out the bag. Oh, she's going through treatment. People had this view of you lying on a mat somewhere, rotting, or, you know what I mean? This image, because cancer back home is, when they say you have cancer, it's usually the extreme. It's now metastatic. It's physically manifested in your body, in a way that people can see. And that's the extreme end, of it. And so that's what people would imagine, that the state you're in. And you realize, oh my gosh, people have, I learned a lot. The references I had were from movies. Obviously they have the patient in the bed, which, I shouldn't say it's exaggerated. Cancer is bad, but it's a process, I guess, for everyone else. They need to show you also the essence of it. But yeah, back home people have no idea. Like I was healthy. I didn't, even during my diagnosis, I remember getting looks like, you're so young.
Yeah.
All the boxes. Do you smoke? No. Are you of a certain age? No. Are you overweight? No. Like you don't tick any of the boxes, but you have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think back home, for people to realize you're walking, talking, not feeling anything, and especially like breast cancer, because the breast is not a major organ. It's like a piece of fat. So it doesn't affect anything unless it's now become metastatic. You could be walking, talking, everything, but anyone can have it.
Yeah.
And I think back home, this thing that we really need a cancer hospital, not a little center attached to our already overwhelmed hospitals. We need a whole hospital because, it's there. It's more common than you think. It's there, and early diagnosis is needed, and awareness also for people to realize, it's not, you don't have to reach the extreme for you to know you have it.
Yeah.
Let's just get checked. Let's,
get checked. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for you, did it bring up issues of mortality and maybe made you review the priorities of life and your values and the future? How did it make you feel?
I think when I first got diagnosed, I think it's like, oh, my children, what's going to happen to them? But I think I decided not to dwell in it too much. Then, eventually I think, sometimes you feel like after going through this, some big light bulb moment happens, but then after this, I was like, I don't mind just living and quietly being grateful for living in my quiet way. And not everyone is going to become an activist after going through this. Some people just want to get on with it. I think, but I think that, fun enough, the triggering thing for me, because I think mostly I was gonna just get on with it after that, and say, okay, let's see where it takes us. I think what triggered me to say, hey, maybe I want to do something about it is when my sister passed, not cancer, but just suddenly at a very young age. The shock of, oh my goodness, I think I was like, maybe she was a very outgoing person, and I was like, maybe to also honor her legacy. Let me, maybe I should speak out, bring awareness. But then again, like I said, I felt like, okay, just talking about it, like on my Facebook, is not enough. But mostly I'm an Instagram person. But I think my plan is, I've always wanted to, after my going through my treatment, I was like, I would want to be part of a program where there's a capacity building for the people back home to treat this, this disease properly, to have, for the government to realize that it's an urgent matter, it's to realize that it's a lot that goes in it, and we need to do something about it. And I want to be behind that 100%, and then I'll proudly shout on the rooftop and say, hey, this is me. But knowing I've done something like that, I don't know how, but sometimes they say talking about it, it manifests.
Absolutely. I mean, most of these things, that I think that's where for most people, they don't get to take action because they don't feel they know the how. But it's all about the process. It's the how you're turning up yourself in terms of the message, even just talking to people, because eventually the how works itself out, because you don't know who you're going to be talking to. You don't know who they know or what they know or the networks they have and how they can actually help you bring that message to light as well. So it is an important aspect that you're saying, that don't worry about the how, but just have your vision and what you're trying to achieve, and just talk to people, and you'll find that the how will eventually find itself out. So it's quite a noble gesture to have on your part, because you've got a story behind you that you can tell, having experienced it, having through it. People can relate to it, and also raising that awareness can actually protect people in terms of go and get checked early so that it's detected early, not before they actually fall sick and become, higher levels that they are not treatable anymore, and it's quite difficult for them to actually get rid of it. So that's quite a noble cause. So, like I said, just raising the awareness and eventually.
I think also, as you said, the awareness is, I think now I figured, I was like, hey, one of the things, like me going through it, I was like, for a Black person, there are not a lot of stories out there as Black people, and I think there's a myth in the Black community, not just Malawian, but general Black community, where cancer is not a Black people disease. We don't have it. So I was like, I think the more of us who come out, because I guess culturally we don't talk about disease, and illnesses. So I was like, maybe I should just talk about it, so people should know, hey, I know someone. Like, we have some of the activists back home, but she's like just one person. But if there's more of you who, like, I've had it, or I have it, or I'm in the middle of battling it, people realize, oh my goodness, this thing is, it's not far from home. It can happen to anyone.
Yes, because they are seeing it's happening to ordinary people they can relate to, so that shock raises that awareness that, I'm not unique, there's also, my mortality to think about. So maybe I should do A, B, C, D, and maybe even them, they can also start raising the awareness as well.
So I think most, like, now for the first time, I posted on my Instagram about it. Excuse me. Not I just, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I put, hey, I had it, and here I am today. And I have a small following. My account is private. But I was, just testing the waters to see,
big things, big movement. Everything starts small. It all starts with a small step, I was reading a story about a woman who walked there's some large distance in America from one place to another. I think thousands of kilometers, but an older woman. And when they ask her how she did it, you're just saying, it's just the first step. You take a step, and then the next. So if you think of it as just a step and another step and another step, if you keep doing those steps, you can walk the world even, because the next movement is just a step. But over time, when time happens, when you look at how many steps it's been, that's how, people build things, by small building blocks. If you look at buildings, houses, they're just small
bricks on top of each other.
Making it big. So that's all you can do. Like, here, coming on this podcast, it will go out. Some people will pick it up, they will listen, and they will relate to something you said, and then maybe they'll jump on the bandwagon of your movement, and eventually you never know. So just like we said, the how doesn't matter. Just keep going on with your message. That's
Yeah.
the key important part.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. So we touched upon quite a number
A
of
lot of
things.
things.
So just to touch on, you mentioned about your sister. So before we get on to like what happened with your cancer and up to now where you are, I mean, if you're comfortable to share a bit more about your sister and what happened, because I remember I think it was certainly quite a shock to a lot of the community how things happened, and there were a
Yeah.
lot of stories about what really happened and various reports and autopsies and all of this. So I'm not sure actually people got to grips with the whole thing, because it was quite a shocking moment for someone so young, and things just happen in a space of a short period of time when people are gone just like that. So yeah, it must have been, just to add to what you were going through, that big shock as well of a sister. Talk us through that. Maybe take us, how you got to know it and what's the reality of what happened and so on, if that's okay.
Okay. So it was beginning of the year. I
Mm,
think the 3rd or 4th of January.
mm,
So we had just gotten into this 2020.
yeah.
And I remember I was with my husband on the living room on a Friday evening, and someone called him. More of an acquaintance, not a friend that he talks to, or that one on one,
Yeah.
on the phone. Maybe if they meet, yes, but so
Yeah.
it was strange. So he says, Dayrica's sister is in the hospital. Do her parents know? And she seems like she's not in a good condition.
Mm,
And he's like, oh, okay, let me find out. So Chico looked like, this guy is calling me. This sounds bad. And so we tried to call. I call my other sister who was at home. So my sister, my the second born was at home. She was the last born, the one that passed.
mm,
And she was out with friends. They were at her boyfriend's house. Just I think at the end of the day, went for a chat, and so I think they were when they were leaving. So I think her friend was the one driving, who drove them there. They were
mhm,
coming out of the house, and it was in the dark, and a snake bit her.
mm,
So when the snake bit her, they're like, at first it was in the dark, so she thought it was like a rat. She stepped on a rat or something. She
mm,
didn't realize that. So she was just out there chatting, and then later on it started to sting or so. And then she's like, guys, you know, uh, no, I think she thought she just stepped on it or something, but it didn't
mm,
bite her. Then later on she saw the sting of it. And then they're like, let's go to the hospital to have it checked. And they went to the hospital, to a local clinic nearby, and she was fine. They were sitting in the waiting room 20 minutes.
mm.
So
Did, did,
no,
did the friends see the snake at the time?
they managed to find the snake, and they killed it and carried it with.
Hmm.
But other than that, they didn't carry out any first aid protocols of any sort. So she was sitting there in the waiting room with the boyfriend, and waiting for assistance. And it wasn't taken as emergency.
Hmm.
And then later on, I think after 30 minutes, they were seen. So between the snake bite and actually getting treatment, maybe an hour could have passed.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then when they were giving her the medication, that's when things started to go south. She started, like convulsing and stuff. Then they said, this is strange. And they sent her off in an ambulance to the central hospital. That's where my parents, and on her way there, she called my mom. I said, Ma, I'm not feeling well. I'm on my way to central hospital. So my mom and my dad were on their way to meet them there at the central hospital. And then that's where she passed. Now, obviously, this thing all sorts, even the time I was calling my sister at home, she didn't know what was happening. I was like, do you know Kotana is the hospital? She didn't know. And then I guess some hours later, I remember my cousin called me and she's like, I don't know. I was trying to call my mom, but my cousin answered it. So I was like, why is she answering my mom's phone? I was like, where's mom? Oh no, they're on their way home or blah, blah. I was like, what's happening? How's Kotana? No. Then in the background, my mom burst out crying. She's gone,
Wow.
Yeah, so that happened, I think, from the time we got that call, within a period of 2 hours, all this happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was shocking. It was everything, that one can go through. And then, the funeral happened. And then that's when now, adding salt to the wound, this whole thing came out. Oh, this is fishy. She was poisoned, apparently.
Yeah.
The autopsy. But, people of the medical fraternity had debunked it and said, this is not how a scientific report is written.
Yeah.
And this looks fishy. This particular person who wrote that autopsy, wrote something similar for someone else and literally copy and pasted a lot of the info, which was suspicious. Anyway, the verdict is out. I think no one is out for, well, my family anyway. It's a lot to deal with. They didn't want to pursue that. But now the thing was, they said she was poisoned, and obviously her friends were being blamed for it, and her boyfriend, and they were locked up for about almost a month. So the friends that were at the house and the boyfriend, so it's maybe about 4 of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, if the final verdict of the case just came out, I think last month, where there was no evidence of, that this.
Wasn't there like a second autopsy? Because I remember seeing some.
The one of the friends' team was saying, let's exhume the body to conduct another autopsy. But then, they managed not to, and just took the samples that this guy had taken. I'm not sure of the nitty-gritties, but whatever they took was enough to debunk this theory of her being poisoned. If they found anything else, I'm not sure. I think I decided not to follow the nitty-gritties closely.
Yeah.
Of the case, I was not ready.
Wasn't there some report, or was that the autopsy mentioned something about Temek or something like that?
Yeah, so that was the first one, the one that got the friends arrested, and the one that they privately had done said there was no poison.
Yeah.
So that's what helped get these kids out of trouble. And I mean, obviously, it strained relations. These were her friends, very close. One of them, her childhood friends, they grew up. The case was not our family who brought it up personally, but it was the state.
Yeah.
but I personally don't believe that her friends would have. It didn't make sense, even in a way being part of the process. I had no reason to believe that they were involved in anything malicious towards her, and their private examination of the samples also proved that there was none of that. So obviously, I think now that might be another case on its own where that those people will be pursuing against maybe the state or the guy that did it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So it's the story is still going on.
Yeah. I remember it did gather quite a bit of social media interest at the time, isn't it? With a lot of conspiracy theories flying here and everywhere.
Yeah.
I guess it was testament to just the shocking nature of how quickly things happened for what was such a young, vibrant life,
Yeah. Also, just the system, like how much do you trust it, or can you trust it? But I'm glad that the friends are now, back home. I think for them it was also traumatic.
Yeah,
traumatic experience. It will take time to, try and figure that whole mess out.
Yeah.
And then, this year has just been a lot, I guess. Yeah.
So I guess just as we finish, just take us through like your treatment and then where you are now and how things are developing.
Yeah. So I did chemo. I did chemo. So I did about 6 cycles of chemo. I think it was 6. Yeah. And now, so my hair fell out, the whole shebang. But I didn't, I'm happy I didn't get hospitalized. It was managed at home. It's a horrible experience, chemo, but and then now I'm on adjuvant, they call adjuvant hormone therapy. So it was a hormone triggered cancer. So I'll be on that for the next 5 years. Just to suppress the estrogen and the progesterone. And on top of that, there are other little treatments they give you to counteract the side effects of the main treatment.
Okay. So I hope, I'm sure, because after the further tests, you're a bit clear of it for now, yeah? So the rest just checkups, and then you've got a follow-up operation to come?
Yes, so reconstructive operation. Which I guess that was no biggie. It's not urgent. But just to make your life more as normal as possible, I suppose.
Cool. Thank you very much, Dayrica. It's been quite a journey for you, isn't it? All the experiences you've been through, quite different to what you had imagined yourself. Coming here, you will have all these experiences of traveling Europe and meeting friends and seeing the country, but then you had to be put on pause and
so many times it's like, I'm with cancer, and then this happens, and then COVID
as well, so but hopefully there's positive things to come in the future, because it's all about life. Life is like a journey. You have these moments of downs and ups and everything, but hopefully there's quite a lot of ups to come. So we'll be following your journey, your story. Hopefully we can get to speak to you again, see how that's going. But
no, definitely, I think small pleasures.
Absolutely. And to follow your journey as well of your message you're putting out there to help other people to get tested and raise that awareness as well. So it will be good if we can help you with anything with that, and any people listening, they can also do the same. So thank you very much for today. It's been a pleasure catching up with you, and I'm sure we'll speak again very soon.
Thank you for having me. And I was told I'd go through the emotions again, and I was like, wow, it's
Yeah.
true. So thank you for having me, and this
Yeah.
was a
Yeah,
nice
no,
experience.
it's good for you to share what some difficult emotions and things you went through. But I'm sure there'll be people who will relate to that and feel that they can also fight just the way that you did, and keep going. So quite motivating. Thanks for that, Derek. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Alex.
Good
Thank
thing.
you.
All
Have
right.
a nice afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.